What's up, everybody? This is Cam Hand, the Fantasy Man, coming at you with our Week 14 recap. I hope you guys liked my intro. It was of a basketball game we played the other day, which when I'm back in town, I'd like to play at least once or twice. So hopefully we can do that. But speaking of things I want to do when I'm back in town, I made a new flyer for our Sunday before Christmas, December 22nd football game at Forsyth Central High School, 11 a.m. We're going to go to Summits afterwards. It's going to be a great time. I'm sure Will, as you can see him crying there, he'll have an excuse. Ashton, I'm sure, is probably celebrating like Easter that day or something. But other than that, we should be good to go. So let's all show up to that. Weekly shout out. I want to give a weekly shout out since it is the last or was the last week of the year for the fantasy league. Last week of this fantasy season. I didn't make the playoffs for the first time. A lot of people, they want me to come on here. They want me to rage. They want me to be mad. That's what Doug wants. That's what Ashton wants. That's what, all you haters want. But, I feel a sense of joy after this season. I liked a good number of my players. I think I found some guys for life. Love Jaden Daniels, love Terry McLaurin. I enjoyed having Cade Otton on my team. I enjoyed having Cortland Sutton. I've enjoyed watching Bo Nix this year because of Cortland Sutton. Aaron Jones I've liked. And I really, even though I didn't make it all the way and my team wasn't very good for the totality of this year, I still had a good time. And you know what? I put that picture of the old man playing fantasy over there because I think we all need to remember that we only have so many fantasy seasons left in our lives. And this was one of them, So I'm going to try to go forward and cherish all these fantasy seasons that I have because I really enjoy playing. It's really fun. It's a good excuse to hang out and talk to people. And, I just am reflecting and saying, hey, this was a good, fun season. I'm still alive in 3 of my 4 leagues. I think there's a lot to be happy about for everyone in the league. Also, Cameron Broker was really funny. He was really nice this week. I can't remember any specific thing he said, but I just felt like we were in connection on a few roasts going on, and I feel like he liked a couple of my messages, and that made me feel nice. So if you want to shout out, you got to hype me up a little bit. Best matchup, even though this was not an official matchup, it basically was the best matchup of the year between Preston and Hunter. No reasoning needed. Preston needed 80 to beat Preston needed me to lose. He needed Hunter to lose, and he needed to score 80 more points than Hunter, and he almost did it. I think it might have even been 8. I think it was just 80. And he almost did it. It was fascinating. It was exhilarating. It was probably the best matchup of all of fantasy history, and Hunter barely pulled it out. So it was a phenomenal match. Worst injury luck, we have Cameron Broker. We had Breece Hall out, Ladd McConkey out, and Dobbins also, is on the IR. So got to give it to Broker there. Most unlucky, even though, it was a little lucky, I guess, for Preston to score 202 points and even be in the conversation for beating Hunter scoring 80 more points than Hunter and making the playoffs. I still feel like he was unlucky. There was an OT that where Jonnu Smith scored a touchdown and Tyreek Hill converted a 2-point conversion that basically sealed his fate. And also, you just kind of got to feel a little unlucky that he was so close to making playoffs, and then it got pulled right out from under him with that kind of crazy Jamar Chase play that should have probably never happened. So that was crazy. On the flip side, we're going to give Hunter's got to be kissing his lucky stars that he was able to scrape by and make playoffs. That was amazing. It was, that's that was wild. So, Bobby, we're going to give the dumbest move, starting Alexander Madison, who I have in a league, and I never even thought he was, like, he's been out for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he was doubtful, like, the 2 days before the game started, and then, like, there's no excuse to start Alexander Madison. The reason he did it is because he clearly doesn't care, and he doesn't look at the app all week long, and he doesn't check right before the game start even. So I don't want to hear it. To me, this is just cherry on top for Bobby. And like I said in the chat, come at the beginning of next season, Bobby's going to say he wants to play again. And Bobby's going to say he wants to play again, and then Hunter's going to be like, oh, I really want him in, and Doug's going to be like, yeah, well, why wouldn't we have him in? And then Greg, talks a lot of game. But, what always happens is Bobby's going to come in and be like, guys, I really want to play. And Greg's going to be like, well, if he wants to play, we can't really kick him out, can we? Like, Greg's soft when it really comes down to it, and Ashton's going to forget about all this. So, anyway, that was an absolute tangent, but that was the dumbest move is, of course, Bobby starting Alexander Madison. I believe the third time this year he has started, the third time this year in redraft he has started someone who's been out. Smart move, Preston. He had a great Jawan Jennings pickup that got him about 14 points at tight end. And then he's ridden with Rachaad White and Jawan Jennings, both people that nobody wanted, and both people that popped off for him this week. So I'm going to give it to Preston. Best free agent move is Dylan picking up Garendo. Stock rising, we're going to go with Ash. He put up a 183 game without I believe Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, or is it Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry? Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry. And JSN is really, he's popping off at the right time. Is popping off at the right time. Adunze is, really catching fire, and Jordan Addison also catching fire. Sorry, I'm also looking at a thing on my computer that's semi-distracting me. All right, stock falling. We're going to go with Hunter, barely scraped in to playoffs. And I think just the fact that people wanted him to get in over Preston because they felt like Preston's team was stronger than his, I feel like that tells you all you need to know about where Hunter's team's at right now. Even though I do like Hunter's team, he had some injuries, and Nico Collins was on a bye. But best player, Preston, 202, I believe, is the third or fourth best score of all time. So I'm giving that to him there. Bobby, sub 100, started injured player. Enough said. And I'm going to give Preston that dog for all the reasons I said. Third or fourth highest score of all time. He almost beat Hunter in the craziest way possible. I know Hunter's sitting there thinking that Hunter should have gotten dog. He's like, yeah, Hunter's probably like, I beat Preston and, blah, blah, blah. But no, I'm not going to give Hunter dog. First of all, he lost his matchup this week. And also, I'm not giving him dog because he only lost to Preston by 79 points or whatever it is. No, that was not dog. It should have never been that close. And even though Preston didn't make playoffs, he still popped off in the biggest week of his life, and that's dog. Okay, I gotta get ready for these dabs. So some of you might not even remember Ashton's outburst at me earlier in the week, and all the crazy things he said. I'll start it off soft. I put a message in the chat about us playing football while I'm in town. Ashton liked it, as if he's not celebrating Christmas every day from now until Christmas. So 2 dabs. So basically, Ash liked my message as if he was going to come play football. We all know he won't be. If you read the chat that day, it came out that Ashton thought for almost 2 whole seasons that you could drop a player and then pick him back up without someone else being able to claim him. 18 dabs. That is one of the biggest dabs things I've ever heard. why in the world would you be able to drop somebody and then pick that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And Cameron Broker, he summed it up. Ash says, I feel like it's not a crazy thought that I could drop a player and could get them back with like priority. And then Cameron Broker says, that is a crazy thought I've heard. That's the craziest thought. Like, especially to play a full season and see people dropping people and still not kind of figure it out. That's hilarious. It's not, there was a lot of talk about Ash, you couldn't read the rules. No, I don't think you need to read the rules. You just need to like play the game and see that people aren't dropping their good players, and it was crazy. But Ashton then used the fact that he thought that to justify previous bad seasons and act like a victim. 10 dabs. So he was like, well, you can't blame me for having 3 bad seasons before this year. I thought that you could drop your good players and then pick them back up. That's not 10 dabs. That's such a egregious lack of knowledge that you can only blame yourself there. 10 dabs. That'd be like me playing basketball and like trying to run with it and being bad, and I'm like, well, you can't blame me. I didn't even know you couldn't run with the basketball. I'd be like, no, like you should know that. Okay, Ashton, he talked down to me. He talked down to me a little bit. A 2-time champion, and Preston, a first-time fantasy player, 4 dabs. He was like, yeah, well, you guys like Rachaad White. That's why you guys stink. First of all, this is Preston's first year, and he had a very good year. And then I'm a 2-time champion. This is the first time I've never made the playoffs. But then Ashton, he comes at me. I kind of had the same dads. Ashton made fun of me when I have the resume I have, and Preston almost made playoffs. That's more dabs for him. Ashton for saying Hunter took advantage of him because he picked up someone he dropped. 8 dabs. Ashton was like, oh, Hunter took advantage of me because I dropped Garrett Wilson, and then Hunter picked Garrett Wilson up. It's like, I dropped Jawan Johnson and Preston picked him up. That doesn't mean Preston took advantage of me. He just picked up the guy I dropped. So just the general victim mentality of Ash not knowing something obvious is hilarious. Last thing I'll say about Ash is that he downplayed my championships, saying that I started a league and won when no one knew what they were doing. First of all, I won both my championships the second and third year of the league. So everybody knew what they were doing both the second and third year of the league. You can look at how people drafted. You can look at everything. People knew what they were doing. Everybody knew how to add drop. Anyway, it's a crazy claim that I won because nobody knew what they were doing. Everybody in the league knew what they were doing by year 2 and year 3. Tyler for fake filming with his GoPro, 5 dabs. Tyler goes everywhere and he films everything supposedly on his GoPro, and you never see the footage. Greg and Tyler are claiming that a lot of the footage has been deleted. I can only come to the conclusion that Tyler's walking around pretending to film on the GoPro for some reason. Greg for saying that he responded to my ski text, but he only did after I filmed the video, like 5 days after I sent the text. 3 dabs. I filmed this video last week making fun of Greg and Will and Dylan for not responding to my text. Greg responds to my text like 5 or 6 days after I had sent the text and is then on me for getting on him for not responding to the text. Greg, Will, and Doug for hating on Rachaad White for no real reason. We've covered that a bunch. 5 dabs. Greg for thinking White is a great pass catcher but not a good fantasy running back. 9 dabs. Greg this week said a bunch of times that he thinks White is a, quote, great pass catcher but not a good fantasy running back. Being a great pass-catching running back makes you a good fantasy player by default. Anyway, Greg for his love of boom or bust players, 5 dabs. Greg has had famous relationships with Gabe Davis, Xavier Worthy. He's flirting with Addison right now. He just loves boom or bust guys. It's one of his favorite things. He always drafts them. And he just can't quit boom or bust guys. I mean, it's one of his biggest flaws. Will for having a jam-packed trash can, 2 dabs. I got multiple texts from people that were at Will's house who claimed that his trash can was, in fact, full to the brim, confirming the rumors that we have talked about. Will for not knowing what .500 and or 500 means, 11 dabs. Will for not knowing what that means when it's used in every single sport is crazy. Doug for coping and saying fantasy is all luck, disrespecting the gods, 6 dabs. Doug for not watching Hawks games anymore, 5 dabs. I used to talk Hawks with Doug all the time. This is a really fun Hawks year, and Doug has talked to me about it once. Doug doesn't watch Hawks anymore. He's not a Hawks fan, and that bums me out. Preston for claiming riding a horse is the same as riding a jet ski, 10 dabs. Me and Preston had a large argument about if riding a jet ski was fun or not. He doesn't think riding jet skis is that fun, and he compared it to being as fun as riding a horse. 10 dabs. Haley, Hunter's girlfriend, for not liking Harry Potter and probably jinxing Hunter because of that, 5 dabs. It came to my attention that Haley doesn't like Harry Potter, one of the greatest film franchises of all time. I can only imagine that that's why the fantasy gods made Hunter sweat it out to make it into playoffs, because of that take from Haley. If Hunter didn't like Harry Potter, then there's no way Hunter would have made playoffs, but just someone associated with him not liking it, he wanted to put a little scare on Hunter is all it is. And then Bobby for starting Alexander Madison, 100 dabs, but I'm not giving it to Bobby again, but that is obviously the most dabs. Ash wins with 65 dabs. Most annoying, Hunter, Doug, Greg for inevitably supporting Bobby's return to the fantasy league before next season. It's obviously going to happen. We're going to have a conversation at the beginning next year about if Bobby should be in the league, and Hunter is just going to be like, yeah, obviously. Hunter's going to act as if it's obvious he should be in the league. Doug is going to kind of just side with Hunter and be like, yeah, I know, but he should be in the league. And then Greg, like I said, Greg's going to go soft and say exactly this. Well, if he wants to be in the league, I don't think we can kick him out or whatever. So this is a preemptive most annoying for all 3 of them, because they are going to be huge Bobby supporters. Skipping that, next week's big matchup is Ashton versus Doug. It's either that or Broker versus Hunter. I just feel like Ashton versus Doug's a little more interesting. I do think Ashton will wipe the floor with Doug. All right, random rankings. Finally, this is a long video, and I have a few random rankings here. But the "That's Not Funny Guys" ranking refers to people who, if you make a joke, they're most likely to go, "That's not funny." Like, you shouldn't joke about that. And I think Ashton leads that. I think Ashton's a big "That's not funny, guys." I've heard him do it a few times, but I would say number 1. Matt, number 2. We've seen him do it in the fantasy chat this year. He does definitely seem like a, hey, that's not funny, guys, don't joke about that type of guy. Sam, I have to imagine he's just not a very fun guy, clearly, at least in fantasy. Sorry, I'm getting messages all over the place here. Posted. Okay. And then Hunter, shockingly, he's a little soft sometimes. You can offend Hunter. Will as well. He'll throw some out there. Now you get into the Bobby, Doug, me. It takes a lot to offend the likes of me, Bobby, and Doug, but it can happen. But then Broker, Dylan, Greg, and Preston, I feel like really have there's no limit to what you can say to these people. For example, Preston just sends me the darkest TikToks and Instagram reels and memes. You can't really, there's nothing you could say to Preston really that he'd be like, that's not funny. I think he would think it was funny no matter what. And I would say same goes for Greg, Dylan, Broker, but that's that. We had a big conversation about names. I won't talk about it too much, but Fatal Pickle, referring to Pickle Rick, I believe, is a phenomenal name. Duh or Do or Doe, whatever you want to say, great name. And it's especially made funnier that it was apparently a typo that Doug is running with. Cam Hand You This L is great. Keaton Jones is a reference to that guy in the top left corner, a viral kid who got bullied. That's Preston's name. Misty Muffin, great. Giles with the 1 is clever, simple but clever. Sam's brokers are just whatever. Fizniller, don't know what it means, kind of annoys me. Fledgledge, I can't even believe Will tried to describe that one and described it the way he did as a bird that is planning to jump off something. That was wild. And then Lil Slippy is, is terrible. No idea where he came up with that. Quickly, who would I want to win it all? I've always stuck with Doug if it's not going to be me, because right now the only people who can claim championships are me and Doug, because Bobby's one didn't count because it was Camacho's team. And then Hunter, number 2. I think, Hunter's been here the whole time. I'll root for Hunter. I wouldn't mind a Hunter win. Broker would be fine. Dylan, Matt, and Ashton, I would probably quit the league if any of the 3 of them won, especially Ashton. I really don't want him to win. And I did this last year when Spotify Wrapped came out, and I just wanted to throw up everybody's Spotify Wrapped so we know kind of what we're listening to here. Ashton is a noted Chelsea Cutler fan. He listens to Chelsea Cutler religiously. Speaking of religion, Lecrae, he's a big Christian rap guy. Chance the Rapper. Hillsong United is a Christian band that I'm sure he loves. And then Miley Cyrus. Bobby's theme is mostly things to help him sleep. Sounds to help him sleep is his number 1 song. Rainy, sleepy time sounds, but also then some Owl City, some 3 Doors Down to mix it up for the times that he is actually awake. Will, I believe that's actually Will's. I think that might actually be Will's thing. It's just a bunch of heavy metal screamo. Dylan, I looked up heavy metal screamo bands, and then I also think he's throws it back a lot to Linkin Park, and I think he's probably got a secret thing for Olivia Rodrigo music. Preston doesn't listen to music really, but when he does, it's because Emmett, his child, asks him to put on like the Brother Bear or Spirit or like Meet the Jetsons theme song or something. So he listened to a lot of Phil Collins, who, most of you probably know Phil Collins. He writes all the music for Disney movies. But every once in a while, I know his wife, I've heard her listen to Noah Kahan before, so he probably plays that for her sometimes. And then he used to like Eminem. He probably plays like 3 songs just to feel something. Every once in a while. So I put that for Preston. Doug is just really straight down the middle, not listening to anything new, just kind of old rap and rock songs for Doug. Same thing. Oh, no, not same thing. Same thing goes for Greg, but skip mine because that's pretty much what mine was. Hunter, Wes Walker, and Dill are the artists who made the Jordan Belfort song. I feel like that's really up Hunter's alley. And then Hunter just listens to a lot of white rappers, really, and then Pitbull and Jimmy Buffett. And then Cameron Broker also just rap you listen to in 6th grade, and Jimmy Eat World. I think he probably listens. It just takes some time. That's a big Cameron Broker song. And then lastly, Greg is not very interesting, just kind of run-of-the-mill, 30-year-old white guy stuff. But anyway, long video. Merry Christmas, everyone. This one will be my last recap video of the season, so I hope you liked it. And I'll see you guys soon. I'll keep you in the loop. Get prepared. Start stretching for that football game. Ashton, start coming up with excuses. Will, you too. And I will see you guys there. Bye.